How to buy a house. Hello and welcome to VideoJug. Buying a house is probably the biggest purchase you'll ever make. So we've enlisted the help of estate agent Ed Mead and property developer Tina Jessen to tell you all the tricks of the trade, which will make your next house purchase run smoothly. Step 1. Financing. Generally, unless you're a multimillionaire, you won't pay cash for a house. You'll need to get a down payment ready and borrow money on top of that.
You should have your finances in place before you even start looking at a property. You have to understand that the best properties may have competition for their purchase, and therefore you need to be at the front of the queue. The only way to do that is to be able to show your estate agent you've got a mortgage offer in principle agreed already.
The money you borrow from a bank or building society is called a mortgage. To find out what you can afford, it may be worth speaking to an independent financial advisor or a mortgage lender. You'll also incur other costs.
Well, as a buyer, the cost you can expect to pay is stamp duty. Now, that tends to be the biggest part of any purchase. You don't pay any stamp duty up to a buying price of 125. You pay 1% between 125 and 250. You pay 3% between 250 and 500,000. And when the purchase price is over 500,000, you pay 4%. Apart from that, you'll be paying your solicitor, which is going to be an absolute maximum of about 0.5%. And then really the moving cost, so that's about it.
Step 2. Buying on a budget. Once you've worked out how much your down payment is and how large a mortgage you can get, you can start to work out what you can afford. Essentially, the two key factors in buying a property are size and location. A combination of these will let you know what your budget will stretch to.
In terms of what sort of property you want to look for, your estate agent will advise you, but obviously it's going to be fairly dependent on cost. There are all sorts of things. At the lower end of the scale will tend to be ex-council properties which have been bought and maybe have some other council tenants in the block, which will be cheaper. But mostly it'll be determined by how long you want to live in a place. If you're looking for somewhere where you can start a family, you obviously want plenty of size. Terraced houses, that sort of thing. If you're a single guy or girl, then obviously a flat in some sort of new development could be the way forward. Again, your estate agent will be able to advise you very well on that.
Step 3. Size. Size does matter to most people. Generally, there are two ways to find the size of property that you want. Properties are described by the number of bedrooms they have and their surface area by square feet or square meters. Step 4. Location. The location of a property is also important when making a decision to buy. Different areas are seen to be nicer than others due to travel links, quality of schools, and other factors.
Location is absolutely critical. It's much better to have a rundown property in a really good neighbourhood. That way you can maximise the return on your investment.
It's also possible to try and buy in an area that's up and coming. If the area becomes more popular due to new facilities, transport links, or developments, it'll mean the value of your property rises accordingly.
You can usually spot an up-and-coming area by what's happening in the neighbourhood. Seeing a number of skips outside other properties is a really good indication. And obviously they're looking out for the coffee shops, and new money coming into the area is always a good indication as well.
Step 5. Finding a property. Once you've decided on your budget, property size, and location, it's worth getting in touch with estate agents. Most property is sold through estate agents, who take commission from the property vendor.
Well, finding a good estate agent is vital, particularly in England, because I'm afraid agents don't share fees, so you'll end up dealing with an awful lot of estate agents. In most foreign countries, particularly North America, you go into one estate agent, you'll find that they have everybody's properties on their books. So here you'll end up going to lots of different estate agents. Hopefully you'll end up finding one or two that you actually get on with. It's really quite important.
Step 6. Viewing a property. It may be worth looking at the property details first, as estate agents may take you to properties that they want to sell, but that don't meet any of your criteria. Having given details to an estate agent, they'll then contact you when they've found a suitable property for you. They'll arrange a time so you can go and look at the property.
Most estate agents have a phrase about buyers, which is that buyers are liars. Now, this stems from the fact that buyers will often say they've sold a property, they're ready to buy, they've got a mortgage when they haven't. My personal experience is always very much that people who say they've got a certain budget actually have a little bit more. So you can't blame your estate agent for trying to show you something a little bit more expensive. Be aware that sometimes your estate agent will perhaps try and show you 2 or 3 not so good properties in a cheaper price range, and then show you one which is much nicer in a more expensive price range, which will then say we've got to stretch for that. So just be aware of that issue when you come to looking around with your estate agent.
Be prepared to look at a number of properties before you find the one you want. Be aware of what you should be looking for when you view.
If the seller happens to be there, that is an opportunity for you as a buyer to ask questions which often the agent may sidestep. So questions that you really want to know, it gives you a chance to ask. You know, do you have noisy neighbours? Things that worry you, you can answer them and get a direct answer.
Step 7. Making an offer. When you've decided on the property of your choice, it's time to make an offer on it. You do this via the estate agent, who then passes your offer on to their client. While your offer should not necessarily meet the asking price, if you go too low, the offer may be rejected. Step 8. Doing the deal. Once your offer has been accepted, you'll need to appoint a solicitor, sign and exchange contracts, and transfer the money across before the property is legally yours. But don't worry, the estate agent wants his cut, so we'll make sure that everything gets done on time, and before you know it, the keys will be yours.